season for the first time in a long time. 2017, the last winning season. By the way, the other thing Florida State's done is guaranteed a winning record in conference, and that's the first time they've done that. Winning record in conference is 2016. Now, when you say that out loud, it's upsetting because you think, well, that's what the hell? How did we ever find ourselves in this state of ill repute where we're out here just losing records in the middling-ass ACC for a long time? Haven't had a winning one since 2016. But we do now. Both those check marks are there. Florida State will have a winning season, and they will go to a bowl. We already knew that. And now you're sitting here thinking about Florida. You're not thinking about Louisiana. That game will be played Saturday, and we will cover it, and we'll have a pregame show and all of that. But you're thinking about the Florida game because they're starting to play well, and we're playing really well. And there will be a buzz in the air for that football game, and that's exciting. That's good. I know Ira mentioned it in his 3-2-1 about how he and Corey were talking about that, and Corey was happy that Florida's playing well because he wants there to be a buzz. Now, most of us would never say they're happy Florida's playing well at any point, just like I'm never happy if Miami's playing well. I don't care about the rivalry so much as to want them to play well. But it is true that when both teams are playing well, there is something extra in the air. You feel it. There's an energy. Days in advance, maybe even more than a week out, because there's something to lose. You're wrestling for control and power. We had our little power discussion a couple weeks ago and how we were able to summarily dismiss Miami in a way that just get the hell up out of here. You're nothing. They were pests. Florida won't be that easy. And it's an important game. It's an important game. We look back on this game in the interim, obviously, and Florida State dominated like they have been dominating since they came out of the break. This has been a run that, if you go back to after we lost to Clemson, I said, well, everything we're going to want to know about this team, this coaching staff, these players, we're going to find out in these 5 games. And Florida State is resoundingly answering the questions and the doubts and all of those things in a fashion that while I thought they could go 5-0 in those 5 games, I didn't think it'd look like this. I didn't think it would look this one-sided. I thought they were on the cusp of being a pretty good football team. They're a very good football team. I think they are. I think they're a problem for a lot of teams right now. Just the way they're playing, their health, the confidence that they play with at key positions. The coaching staff is on a real roll, has their finger on the pulse of this team. I've talked a lot for several weeks in a row about Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins really putting together very good game plans every week. It's just, you never worry about it anymore. You just go into games knowing that the game plan will be there. It's always now about whether or not they'll execute the game plan. And if they do, they have a chance to really win and win big, apparently. You're going to get another big win on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. So I don't remember the last time we had 4 straight rocking chair games. I mean, think about that. 4 straight rocking chair games. You have to go back to 2013. It's been a long time since Florida State had reached the level of excellence that in conference, well, this next game's not in conference, but you know what I'm going with, in conference, that they could just waylay people. They just treat them dismissively, as I'm alluding to, because they don't belong on the same field. Like Syracuse really never had a chance in that game. And you could tell early on, like, this ain't going to work. And they had Schrader. Now, he's not what he was. I think he's playing hurt, obviously, but they were overwhelmed on both sides of the ball. You never really felt like Syracuse was in this game, much the way you didn't feel like Miami was in the game, much the way you didn't feel like Georgia Tech was in the game. But, we go on and on right now. The team is just playing so well, so focused, and I think that's another part of this that makes them very lovable, because you get a road win against your arch rival in grandiose fashion. Do you lose concentration? Do you lose focus? No. If anything, you looked even more determined. You looked even more buttoned up. Like you knew, no letdowns. Let's go. We're still ascending. We're still reaching for something bigger and better. And that is a really likable trait. Not every team, not every good team has that trait. You've seen good teams. I mean, we all watched 2014. We've seen really good teams just kind of play to their competition, maybe get bored, come off a big win, kind of sleepwalk through the next game, win the game, but they don't look too impressive. Florida State seems to be eager to prove more and more and more from one week to the next. They seem determined to reach whatever this elusive ceiling is, right? They're trying to get to this other place, and he keeps pushing them, knowing there's more in there. And that's cool. That's fun to watch. I think this season, in a lot of ways, has rekindled some of this fan base's love for college football. Like, college football Saturdays are fun again. The product's been really good. You and I've noted that. The product's been really good this year. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we're a little bit more in tune with the entire product, because our Saturdays are exciting. We look forward to game day. We look forward to watching this team play. And then I think that bleeds over into the sport in general. Like, you when you're part of it, when you're part of the narrative, when you matter in the big picture. It's like every year when the NCAA basketball tournament happens, if Florida State is part of that, you're even more excited about the rest of the tournament. You're paying attention to the other teams. You want to know where you fit in that puzzle. Unfortunately, this year, I don't think we're going to get that opportunity. The basketball team's terrible. Now, we're not going to get sidetracked. Back to us. I think that you look at the whole of college football right now because your eyes are telling you that Florida State's good. You're looking at that team and you go, you know what? They're not good, like, for us. They're not good, in the ACC. They're good, period. They're good. They're a good football team. And now you're kind of like, well, how good? You don't always get to answer that question, and that's always going to be a point of contention, I think, amongst fans. Some people think that if Florida State, as they're playing currently, is the top 5 team. Well, I don't know that I would go there. I might argue that they're a top 15 team as they're playing currently. Some of you might say, I wouldn't say top 5, Jeff, but top 10. I could argue top 10. That's fine. Think about what we're talking about. Think about the conversation we're having and how cool that is. We're arguing about whether or not Florida State's a top 5, top 10, or top 15 team. Far cry from where we've been. And we matter. We're only getting better. The articles written throughout the country about college football as a whole tend to mention us these days. Hey, by the way, take a look over there. Florida State team's not somebody you want to play right now. I wonder what bowl they're going to go to. How far can they climb? Can they get to 10 wins with a bowl win? Well, obviously you got to win your next 2 to get there, but it's within the realm of possibility. I began thinking last night to some degree, Tom, like, what if we play Bama in a bowl? Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be cool, and it wouldn't be determined before the kickoff.
Correct.
Like it would have been each of the last 5, 6, maybe 7 seasons. Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're starting to think to yourself, like, well, would we hang with Bama? Yeah. Yeah, we would. Yeah, we would. Say that out loud. I think it's hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around that idea, but I think we would, without question. And, I don't know if we'd get a ton of stops, but I don't think they'd do a whole lot of stopping us right now.
Yeah, because of the variety of what we can do offensively. That would be a game where you would look at Jordan Travis and say, all right, over 3 bills. That's what we need for you or from you. And you could count on that. And then there are other opponents that have decent secondary player like Syracuse, just lay everybody back in coverage and say,
run on them.
All right, underneath throws and runs. Can we do that? Absolutely we can. You look at the offensive line metrics in the conference, and they put that graphic up on Saturday night where they said, it's number 1 in yards per carry, total yards per game, and then the fewest sacks allowed in the conference. 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. And that word is overused, but that is literally unbelievable from where we were in the preseason to where we are now. Full marks across the board to everybody involved that makes that happen. And it's largely on the players who decided to get better and listen to Alex Atkins and develop.
They've gotten better, and they're going to keep getting better because there's more talent behind the starting group that's going to emerge, and they've been allowed to develop and get stronger and learn and get better because the group in front of them has played so well that we haven't had to supplant them. So that's really good, and we'll remember them fondly because of it. We're always going to look back on the guys that bought in and decided, yeah, I'll go there. I'll take a leap of faith. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think those are good coaches. I think they can make me better. I think I can arrive at my goals if I go there and take my that's awesome. That's awesome. And we'll be forever appreciative. Much the same way we were talking about Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas last year. Like, thanks, guys. Thanks for, you could have gone anywhere you wanted to go. But they bought into what Mike Norvell was telling them about bettering themselves, becoming leaders, teaching the others how to work day-to-day in practice throughout the year. And they went on, and, we root for those guys. We root for those guys to do well because they bought in at a time when it wasn't easy to buy into FSU.
Oh, when they got here, the boulder wasn't moving. It was completely stopped. And they got that thing rolling. It's just very slowly, but it was moving. And now this year, look at that thing. It's rolling down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Cool. Yeah, well, it gets you to a place where you start talking, like I was just doing, you start thinking about the cool bowl matchups and what kind of test do you want? On the one hand, I'd like to win 10 games again. So, if you want to give us some pushover and get an easy 10th win, I'm down with the 10th win. But on the other hand, I just like to see this group continue to be tested and work hard. I think they'll be focused too. I don't know the problem with bowl games anymore is you don't know who's going to play. So, it used to be that, your team was going to play that team and those two teams would look like they currently look. So you knew that, right? Now you don't know that. Now you're like, well, may not have this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And they may not, so you just don't know. It's hard to project. But I do kind of feel like, and they'll get a real test. That Florida team's tough. They're not a bad team. They're playing well right now. When you watch them execute, you look at them, they're playing pretty well.
Yeah, and you could see it in the Georgia game. I alluded to this after that weekend, where in the second half, there was that mini moment where you said, oh, well, this is not a dead issue just yet.
Yeah.
And Napier was calling strange things. There was a 1 3rd down and long where he calls a run up the middle. And I'm like, what the hell? Are you conceding the game? And it's also, he's calling that for the larger message to be sent, that we need to be physical. And that's what Florida will bring to the table, offensively speaking, is they'll be the most physical offense we'll have seen in some time. Since that 3-game stretch, and maybe more physical than those teams. They're not explosive at wide receiver, but they've got a quarterback who can make plays. Then the question is, on the other side, is the disparity in their defense and our offense greater than the disparity when our defense takes the field and plays Richardson and the Napier offense? I think the answer to that is yes, but that doesn't mean that Florida can't hang in that game and Florida can't present problems for us. And this is why I like the schedule the way it's set up these days, where you have something closer to a pushover in between this past weekend and the Florida game, because Thanksgiving week usually robs us of a day or two of coverage where you really can focus on this rivalry game. I feel like it doesn't usually get its due, and especially now with the shortened week that game's played on Friday. But now, the way the schedule lays out, it's Florida week for 7 or 8 business days.
I was going to say, it's Florida week starting today. It's like there's no, now look, if this Louisiana team was the Louisiana team of a year ago.
Oh, 100%. You couldn't say that.
No, you'd have to lock it in, but they're not. And they haven't been all year long. And so this is a game, obviously, Florida State should take care of business. And, Florida's got a Vandy team that did just win an SEC game for the first time since 2019. So that's rather remarkable. But I don't think it's enough for them to suddenly be brimming with confidence and give Florida a scare. So, yeah, these two teams will kind of go through the obligatory week before and get their win, and then we'll go from there. But lots of things to prattle on about today in light of yet another blowout victory for Florida State over Syracuse. It was it's something to watch Trey Benson every week. We're watching a star. We're watching a guy become a star, and that's pretty cool. He runs now with not just speed, but ton of power, whole lot of confidence. He's got the right kind of patience instead of that version of him early in the season where you're like, you got to go, man. You got to go. It's the nice mix right now. Sometimes it looks like he's shot out of a cannon when he gets the edge. Other times you see him patiently waiting for that play to develop, especially counter. Does a real good job of letting that unfold. And this offensive line is just dominating people. And I don't remember the last time I could say that. I don't know. Did I even say that in 2013?
Probably.
I mean,
probably so.
Yeah, probably against certain teams we would have called for domination.
We remarked often that season that you had no margin for error. You needed to get lucky there health-wise. They were extremely thin on the offensive line. This group has proven in a way to be deeper than that group because they've already lost a couple of key pieces and were without some of their players for portions of this season, and they just keep on rolling. It's fantastic.
Just let that marinate for a second, everybody. Just ass kickings every Saturday. Like, oh, it's like the olden days, Tommy. I remember coming in here watching these ass kickings on the regular. It was glorious. Never got tired of them. People used to say, Florida State fans are spoiled. No. We recognized that it wasn't normal to be so great. It's just who we were. I'd like to get back to that. I'd like to be accused of being spoiled. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Hey everybody, the perfect fireplace makes your house a home. How's your fireplace looking? Not too well? Hearth and Patio can help you with that. Actually, Hearth and Patio can help you with anything fire. Give my friends a call at Hearth and Patio. If you need new fireplace upgrade, fireplace repair, you need custom outdoor kitchen, grills, or an amazing fireplace for your backyard. 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282. Or you can visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth Patio Tallahassee. They keep the home fires burning.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless with zero gravity. All of your worries and stress melt away. Your mind stops racing and you fall into a profound state of pure relaxation. This is available to you right now at Tallulah Delta 8 Plus Floating in Railroad Square for just $50. These state-of-the-art floating pods are unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and while you're there, you can shop for some of the latest and greatest CBD and Delta 8 products on the market. Natural pain management, stress relief, and better sleep are all at your fingertips at Tallulah. Tell them Jeff Cameron sent you, and thank me later.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number one, you'll never see that person again. Number two, your technician is likely to change often. And number three, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number one priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Cameron Show brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
better. Scale of 1 to 100. How big is that LSU game in September? Yeah. I'm excited to get that opportunity to play them again next year. Obviously, it'll be a lot of fun as that program has risen, and we have as well. Colby, awesome to be a part. Awesome to be at the game Saturday, beat down in every sense of the game. Jimbo isn't going bowling. Great weekend. How worried are you about Alex Atkins leaving? Let's back the Brinks truck up. Thanks for everything, guys. Thanks, Colby. Appreciate that a lot. Well, I think it's a matter of time. Alex will get poached. He will be a head coach somewhere else, obviously, and that's what happens when you hire good coaches and you start winning games. People come and look at your coaches and want to know why you're winning, and they identify guys that are partly responsible for that. So I do think though he'll be back next year. So just ride the wave right now and enjoy. Unless there's an offer in the wings that we don't know about that is bigger than Charlotte. If that's the case, then I think he'll, then maybe we'll be surprised together. But as of right now, if it's just the Charlotte job that we're worried about Alex Atkins being offered, I think he would stay here and not take that job. I don't know. I do know that when it comes to assistant coaches, if their dream has always to have been a head coach. Like if they got into the business with the idea that someday I'm going to have a team and I'm going to be the head coach and I'm going to run it the way I want to run it. I've got ideas about that. I'm yearning to do it. Some of these guys, they'll take the first head coaching job they're ever offered because they believe in their methodologies. They believe in their ability to turn whatever hurting program around that offered them the job. Others take a little step back, realize it's the right job that you got to take. Because if you take just any job, see Walt Bell, UMass, and you don't have resources and you don't have opportunities to win games, you soil your reputation. As good as it is now, it quickly regresses into an ugly area of, oh my God, did you see that stint he had as a coach where they won 2 games in 2 years? That can happen quickly if you take the wrong job. Some guys know, listen, I'm ascending. I'm relatively young. I'm well paid here. I've got a good gig. We got good players coming back next year. Another good season, and I probably have my pick of the litter.
Right, and what more is there to accomplish? Well, there's a ton to accomplish here at Florida State. In certain positions, like let's just say that you were Nick Saban's defensive coordinator and Kirby Smart was for a long, long time. What more was there to accomplish at Alabama for Kirby? There was nothing more.
No.
In a way, the same thing for Brent Venables last year when he took the OU job.
Well, hell, it had been that way for a long time. He'd been on for all kinds of jobs. I was like, come on, man.
That's what I'm saying. And if you aspire to be a head coach, then the other thing is you want to take the right job because you want to stay a head coach. Because if you get one crack at it and it's awful, you may never be a head coach again. And you might just be relegated to position coach or coordinator for the rest of your career. So that's why you got to be judicious. The one thing I'd say, too, to the Z-Chan part, the Duquesne game served a purpose, too. That mattered to play in week 0. Yeah, I thought that was more valuable than even a scrimmage because even though the talent you're going against is worse, markedly worse, you're going through the emotions of a game day. You understand what it feels like to play in front of a crowd together, and they looked fresh out the gate against LSU. So I feel like every game this season has had a real purpose to it. Even in the NC State second half, which taught us a hard lesson, I'm not sure you're as mature to go on the road to Syracuse and handle business.
Yeah, without that hurt.
Without that lesson.
Yeah.
That, hey, you might think you can take your foot off the gas. You never can take your foot off the gas.
Yeah, and I think Mike has continued to foster that mentality ever since. You see the way that he calls games, and I wanted him to score that extra touchdown against Miami, and he did. I wanted him to score that touchdown against Syracuse the other night, and he did.
That punk kid after that third down.
Well, I laughed about that. I remember thinking, man, read the room. Have a clue. You've been bastardized all night long. Florida State has made the Syracuse defense their bitch all night long, and you're going to flex. Okay. Now I got to go for it. Now I've got to score.
That's some things you'd see around here. That's something that you would see.
It's the worst.
With our secondary for years. And this little downturn, because you cited it's been since 2017 since we've had an over 500 season.
That's correct.
It's been 2016 since we've been over 500 in the conference. In that time between then and now, you saw a whole lot of whatever the hell that is after 3rd and goal.
Yeah, and I hated that team. I hated when we were that way. The guy overthrows a receiver by 40 yards, and our guy's giving him the incomplete sign like he did something like that. It's just you're so focused on the wrong things at that point, and you see it. And now you don't see that. You saw it from Syracuse, and it was funny. And then we called a timeout and scored a touchdown. And I doubt it was because he decided, well, screw that kid. It's, again, fostering the mentality of, oh, no, we're going to score here. So I just, they're fun to watch because they're very physical. I think football should be played that way. Very, very physical. I think that they clearly play for one another. That is an element of football that, it's one of those things where we talk about, does that team do that? I think you have to cover a team or watch a lot of games before you can decide that about a team, right? But we suspected it because we do have access to practice, thankfully. And then we watched the way that they played with each other and the way they celebrated together. It was always group. It was always group oriented. It was never individual. And when you get that too, that's special. Not every group has that. College football is a transient sport. People come and go. They graduate, they move on. And it's tough to engender that, to get that. You got to have really good leaders. You got to have guys that buy in to your way of doing things, your beliefs about hard work and building culture. And then hopefully for you, the positions of leadership, the natural leaders, for example, anybody who plays quarterback, whether they're quiet, they're loud, something in between, doesn't really matter. They have to be a leader of some kind. Now, they have to be themselves, but they have to be a leader. And you need that guy to be able to embrace everything that you're telling him as the gospel. I mean, they've got to be able to believe in that. Like deep down, they have to believe in that because that is the only way then that they can hold everybody else accountable. Because they believe the doctrine, they believe what you're saying is true, and they see the results. Eventually, you have to have results, and this is the year of results. This was the time, and you couldn't have waited another year. You could not have waited another year. That's what this season has meant. It has been so important. We said it before the year. We're saying it right now. This was the year you had to prove something. You had to prove that your way of doing things is the right way of doing things, and that this is a foundation that is sturdy, that you could build upon this, draw others in. The only way to draw others in is not to tell them what you believe, but to espouse it to those kids in the locker room, have them go out believing that, working hard, and getting results. And they got the results.
Well, think of where they are right now. From 0-4 last year, it's been a 12-6 run for this football program. And in each of those 6 losses, you're in that football game. You can win every single one of them. So there hasn't been a game since 0-4 where they've just been outclassed. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing because where we were and the relative talent that we currently have on this roster also says that you've got work to do. So what they're doing is they're building something that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Sure.
And we talked about this and reflected on it last week during the show and then the pregame show that we're running out of time here on the season. But I got to say, something gave me solace this morning. The last however many seasons, handful of seasons, football was over when the Florida game wrapped up. And in the COVID year, whatever our final game was at Duke, I forget. But football season was just over. That's it. Not anymore. You've got another month, bowl prep, a bowl game, and you have hope on signing day and for the transfer portal. All of these storylines bleed into December. We got so spoiled for basically 30 years that when the Florida game was over, there's still a lot more to go. There's a lot more to cover, and there's some more developments. Well, it hasn't been that way in a while here, and now it is again. So even though 2 Fridays from now, when that game is over, that's the end of the 12-game season, there's still a lot more to do.
Well, you got signing day, and it's going to be interesting there, and then you're going to have the practices leading up to whatever that bowl is, as you're saying. We're going to have decisions made by players. I look forward to some of the transfer portal stuff, and I just get excited because we seem to draw people all the time there. I see you, Stephen. My goodness gracious.
Holy Jesus.
Indeed. Thanks for the contribution, good sir. He writes, FSU is in the top 20 in offense, defense, and special teams. Now we just need to get some dudes. Jeff Tom, how much would I need to donate to get a round of golf on the books with you guys? I live in Nashville. I like Nashville, by the way, Stephen, but would definitely make the trip down to Tally for that. It's $7,000, Stephen. It's $7,000. We've had a going rate around there. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Gadsden, Wakulla, and Leon County firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics all turned out for their first Fire and Emergency Medical Services Recruitment Day Saturday. The event was hosted by Tallahassee's Fire Department Professional Firefighters Human Relations Committee to encourage community members to learn about the careers. Search and rescue teams that helped out with Hurricane Ian also attended. Their attendees learned what firefighters and emergency medical services personnel do, specifically what education is needed and how to prepare for a career in EMS or fire services. The Veterans Day Parade took place on Monroe Street, bringing together family and friends to celebrate Veterans Day this past Friday. Over the years, the city of Tallahassee has been celebrating veterans on Veterans Day, but for many who attended Friday's parade, this event not only meant honoring those who served, but bringing a sense of community to the city of Tallahassee. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Lows dip down to about 61 overnight under mainly cloudy skies. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles per hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, 80. Cloudy skies. Tomorrow night, slight chance for scattered storms. Lows level off around 47. High of 64 Sunday under sunny skies. 68 Monday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 68.
Jerry's Famous Cigar Shop is a special place. It's Tallahassee's only traditional gentleman's cigar lounge with a massive collection of hard-to-find boutique cigar brands, a staff with over 100 years of combined cigar knowledge and experience, the best prices in town with full box discounts, a great selection of beer and wine, indoor and outdoor seating, private lockers, and best of all, Jerry's is a local family-owned business. Visit us on Sherrill Road or the new lounge on Cary Forest Parkway, the only cigar lounge for the true gentleman.
Jeff, look at this beautiful day, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly. I like it. You know, I'm a colder weather guy, but I worry about it for you because you can't wear the Speedo in the cold. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to wear a Speedo in the cold.
Jeff, it's always Speedo weather, man. We can always do this. Besides, my pool, it's heated.
Which means you're insufferable in a Speedo year-round?
Cannonball!
Still gross.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
My first call ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah,
I think so, right?
I will confirm it once it's fully scheduled.
I saw you get nervous, but I didn't realize that maybe I
mean, it usually happens.
Yeah.
But sometimes guys need treatment or they've got study hall or whatever. So that's the other thing when you're doing NIL shows.
I'm thinking back on, the start of this season and what we thought the team would be, the good and the bad and everything in between. And the things we were right about and the things we were wrong about. And, I think the greatest surprise, without question, certainly is just how good this offensive line has been. It's such a joy to be able to talk about that and to say it with a straight face, and to watch them getting better and better and better each week. If you think, I watched the LSU Arkansas game and I'm looking at their front and I'm watching that freshman linebacker and I'm looking at that team and I'm thinking, man, we handled them pretty well in that game when you think back on it. Really, I mean, Mike was in a real good zone for most of that game as a play caller. The game plan, once again, was very, very good.
Jordan knew where to go with the football at all times.
He was never at a loss. But I think about the ability to run and some of the things we did in that game, and I watch that group, and I see the way that they've gone on to have the year that they have, and I continue to smile and think about how much better that group is from just a year ago, and where I think that group is going. Like, I think they're going to legitimately be, at some point here in the next 2 years, I think they got a chance to be a pretty elite offensive line. Because think what you're infusing. Like a fully realized, stronger, bigger version of the athlete that Armella is and how good he's going to be. We talk about his feet, how good he's going to be.
He fits this scheme so well.
Doesn't he? And if you get, now listen, again, I like a lot of the young linemen. A lot of the young linemen are very impressive. You can tell they're guys that are going to be very good football players. And God forbid you get like one more transfer portal guy in here. Let's just say some lineman sees this and is like, wow, Florida State is running the ball at will. There's a lot right there that to like, and they decide to come in here. I mean, you got to balance it, right? You got to balance it because you already have a lot of guys on the roster that are like, hey, but
you got a lot of guards. So that guy's a tackle.
That guy's a tackle. We don't need another guard. We got plenty of you. We got plenty of you guards.
Even though you lose both your starting guards, I feel like you've got many options.
Yeah. So there's that. I think it's time for most of us, as we continue to have the conversation, to wonder, I guess Jordan Travis is back, or, what do we think? I tend to think, yes, he'll be back here. A lot of people ask that question every time we come on the airwaves in the chat. That's one of the first things that comes up, because obviously replacing him would be difficult. He's a very good college quarterback. He's very comfortable in this system. He and Mike have a good rapport, and he's become a much better decision maker and passer of the football. So I do think he could probably make more money here just coming back this next year. And I would be very surprised if he didn't, to be honest with you. I think I would be pretty surprised.
I think that has to be at the top of the retention budget conversation. Yeah, I mean, I don't think his NFL or professional future would be hindered by one more year of coming back. I think it would only be strengthened because of the brand recognition. He's going to be in the all ACC and year-end awards watch list conversation right out the gate.
Yeah, he will.
And you love when you play in a week 1 setting. I don't think we'll get a week 0 game next year because all of our non-conference games are set. But when you play on Sunday night of Labor Day weekend with the hype machine that LSU Florida State game will be now, you're off to a really good start in terms of capitalizing on your own brand. And that's what kids have to think about now.
Yeah. It's class right now is not where we want it to be, and we've talked about that quite a bit. That's the next big step to take. But even if you're not going to overwhelm anybody in recruiting from a high school kid standpoint, Tom, I do think obviously we know how successful they've been in the portal. So I'll be interested to see who else they're looking to grab. And we always, these days, that's the way you really judge a class, right? Is what happens when you put the finishing touches on it through the portal.
Yeah, it's a dynamic and fluid situation until about spring ball. And sometimes not even then. Sometimes you get, a player or two after spring is concluded because their own position battles at their current institution are settled. They don't make the cut, and they say, where can I make the cut? And I mean, whatever we're doing in scouting with that is excellent. I just hope that also we have joked about this, wink, wink, nod, nod for the bagmen in the past with high school recruiting. In the portal, teams don't wait sometimes for kids to enter the portal. They make sure that they check with whoever they need to check with. Not directly with the kid, because that would be a violation. But here's hoping we're having those conversations like yesterday, like last week, last month.
Yeah. I hope we're violating every NCAA rule there is.
See, I don't go that far.
Yeah,
but I know you will.
I hope that we are. I think you're just doing your job at that point. Because everybody else you're competing against is. So, the NCAA is sort of an afterthought these days in the sport of football. Where guys just get paid openly. So, what are we talking about here? I'm pretty sure USC had a suspicion that they could go grab the Biletnikoff Award winner from Pitt, before he put his name in the portal. I have a suspicion.
I tend to agree with that. However, I just always keep on the JCS PR firm cap. Sometimes you shed it, but that's why if you're the founding member and the CEO,
right, you can do that.
You can shed the cap and just say what you want to say sometimes.
Ian writes, not Jimbo, he's legit.
He don't cheat, he don't lie.
But he does lose a lot of football games in a row. That is every week. I played that Auburn hunch, thankfully. And that is just a dreadful game to watch. You do wonder, I know that's Schadenfreude and we're winning games, and I like to bring the attention back to us, specifically to us, just because when you're winning, you don't need to really, revel in others. You don't have to worry about them. Well done, Matthew. But I'm beginning to wonder. I mean, I didn't think there was any chance that A&M would cut him loose this year.
I just don't see how you don't cut him loose. Do you think the situation is going to get better?
They're not in love with the idea of parting with $80+ million. But again,
my point is you're going to pay that to him anyway.
Right.
So would you rather pay it now and just be done with it? I know that means that you're going to need more money up front, but I think they're good for it. That's a situation that's pretty. The cash is ready. It's on hand. Liquidity. They have it.
Well, you make a good point. Is you're going to have to pay it either way. It's just over a longer period of time. And if you don't believe that he can salvage the culture and they're just going to keep on losing games because they hate him and that locker room and each other, then you might as well do it. But
I mean, how about that? The bizarre post from the player who says that he was suspended for wearing sleeves.
I don't.
That can't be true. But I mean, with Jimbo, it very well might be true. The thing is, he wore them against Bama. So what the hell, man?
I don't know. I just know that when things went sour here and he had made a decision in his mind and had checked out, and when he realized he had lost the team, I mean, we all saw the promissory notes thing and we were like, what the hell? This is crazy. But
Derwin,
yeah,
talk to me.
Yeah.
How do I reach these kids?
Yeah. No, that was the weirdest thing ever. And it was made for TV.
Show them your heart, coach.
All of it was awful. All of it. Yeah. But that is what desperate people do in that situation. Like, hey, why don't we make something up? Like I'm asking you. How do I reach the kids?
Come on, Showtime.
Yeah,
let's work together.
Let's all of us. It'll make for good television. I'll play it. I'll play it all the way. The dolls.
Coach, isn't that clutter?
Yeah.
Isn't that the definition of clutter?
Yeah. But when you see that, man, when you lose a locker room like that, it's almost impossible to get it back. It's crazy. It's nearly impossible to do. Jeff Cambridge, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
If you're a business owner of any kind, you need advanced fire protection services. We are AFPS, and we provide high-quality life safety services throughout Northwest Florida, and we've been doing it since 1989, with offices now in Tallahassee. Fire sprinklers, fire alarms, fire extinguishers, hood suppression systems, and emergency exit lights. For all of your life safety equipment, we've got you covered 24/7. We are Advanced Fire Protection Services. For a free life safety system evaluation, visit WeSaveLives.com. That's WeSaveLives.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Physical stress on our bodies can take its toll as the years go by. Whether you're looking to get back into an old sport or just want to spend more time outdoors to explore all life has to offer in our beautiful city, the dedicated team at TOC is here for you every step of the way. You can trust TOC for all your orthopedic needs. And now, scheduling an appointment has never been easier. Just visit teamtoc.com and click schedule online. That's teamtoc.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
At EasyCater, food for work is our thing. Maybe that's why we get orders from 93% of Fortune 500 companies. So what's up with the other 7%?
So sorry the food is late.
You should order through EasyCater. Professionally delivered on time and as ordered.
Totally would, but the E is broken on my keyboard.
Just get IT to fix it.
Totally would. Can't type the word help.
Why don't all companies order through EasyCater? Who knows? Order 24/7 from over 95,000 restaurants on EasyCater.com. EasyCater, food for work. That's our thing.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Cool that he noted, just how good the defense has been, but also that the receivers did a hell of a job blocking. That's something that never gets old. It's one of the reasons that Micah Pittman is so fun to watch play football. He's a good kind of jerk. He will block you into the bench and talk to you about it. It's so cool to watch somebody take that much joy in blocking and to sacrifice for somebody else's gain. It's really, really, it's important. Obviously, it's a big part of how this team is able to run the ball so effectively. It's not just that initial line. They block downfield.
And it's a standard that's being set for the next wave of
correct.
receivers. That's the important thing, is that you got to build these things so you pass them on. You talked about it earlier with Jermaine Johnson and Keir Thomas. They started some of this conversation, but now it's all transfers too. Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy.
They're the ones that are setting the standard.
All those guys, too, continue to emerge and play physical themselves when they get opportunities, when they catch the football. You're seeing that. Obviously, the stiff arms were on display in this game and the power. Yeah, that poor kid was de-pantsed. That's a toughie. Emasculated right there. But, that's, again, about leverage and want to and all those things. Like, he knew, I've got an opportunity here.
And it's recognition from the quarterback. I mean, that is being alert to the fact that Syracuse gives you immense cushions. Who cares if it's far hash mark? And then also the precision of the play. And I think McClain does a good job catching it with his body coming back towards the line of scrimmage, because it's a called run with that as an option on the outside. But it's got to be within a yard of the line of scrimmage, because Flanagan might be overzealous to call an illegal man downfield in that situation. So and that crew would be. So that's well done. A lot of little details on that play that make it memorable.
When you talk about the details, that's something they've gotten a lot better at all year long. I feel like that the details in the passing game, the details of blocking in the run game by receivers, all of that they're technically sound. That's why we don't get a lot of holds downfield, because they're technicians. Hand placement's huge there.
Yeah, and it was a questionable call on Johnny on the one drive too.
Right.
You could, but
yeah,
of course you will. Of course you're going to call that.
Well, it's almost like when you see a big receiver like that on a little guy, sometimes they're like, oh, he must be doing something wrong. But I think, the reputation in a good way precedes this group, because we don't get a lot of those flags. And I think it's because the officials the week of certainly recognize, they get opportunities to look at what these two teams are trying to accomplish, how they play the game, how they execute. Reputations follow you. If you're a team that commits a ton of penalties, especially a particular type of penalty, then they're going to look for it even more, because they know that you've been prone to it. But when you do things technically right, that also follows you into games. And they know just because a play is successful or a guy's getting, brutalized on a run play doesn't mean he's being held. It just means that we take great pride in doing it and executing it the right way.
The other thing I'd say, though, is even though Syracuse got flagged for a lot of holds, if Flanagan and the crew worked 4 registers, there would be pity sausage given out on Saturday, because they were holding all the game long.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything about it, and the defense deserved 2 points. They deserved 2 points in that game. It wasn't just because that's intentional grounding out of the end zone.
Correct.
Leonard Warner is abused physically because it's going. I mean, Schrader holds onto the ball way too long in his end zone, and it's got to be a hold, and it's right there to be called. And unfortunately for the defense, it should have been 3-2 plus whatever we scored on the offensive side. But that's really the only gripe I have with the Crew.
They actually did a pretty good job. They
called a lot of things against the Qs.
I mean, they got that right, and they also just, I hope we're getting to a place. I got to give him a lot of credit. What's his name? The color analyst,
Hasselbeck.
Hasselbeck did a very good job of almost like sighing or moaning when the play-by-play announcer tried to. I think he was trying to elicit a helmet-to-helmet on the sack.
Deloach play.
Yes,
that was close.
Yeah, but again, we're playing football out here. There was no intent there. Intent should matter. It's got to matter. You can't willy-nilly start throwing flags because guys' angles change as they're being tackled.
I agree. I think that could have been flagged for targeting, and I think it maybe should have because of what Deloach does to put his own head in danger. I don't think it's. I agree with you in most of these cases. I'm just saying the form on that tackle was dangerous to Ford himself.
Perhaps
the crown goes. I mean, he goes straight down.
We
it's like, man.
But he's taking an angle that he thinks is going to be here. As he comes down, it ends up being head to head.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. We need to get to a place away from where we were when they initially went after targeting so hardcore. And unless it is readily apparent that somebody is attempting to headhunt like that, the kill shot, as they used to call it, we got to play on. I mean, helmets are going to hit. We got to move on. You see, the NFL gets it right for the most part. The NFL just pretty much gets it right. They're like, that's why they're wearing helmets. Sometimes they hit. It just happens. And I was saying this the other day when you and I were talking. The SEC seems to understand that. Those officials understand it's a brutal game. When you watch the start of SEC games, usually the home team, those atmospheres are all really good. Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama, all those atmospheres are great. They're LSU. It's always really intense, right? And you always get the sense that the home team is trying to establish a physicality early in the game, a violence early in the game. And I love that the SEC officials are like, yeah, well, this is part of it. This is a road test, and it's going to be violent and it's going to be physical. And unless I catch somebody headhunting, I'm just going to assume that nobody's out here intending to lead with their helmet.
Which brings us back to Florida week that lasts over the course of 2 weeks. That game is here is huge. And that you put these 3 results back to back to back. I mean, even if you had beaten Syracuse in ugly fashion, 27-17 or something along those lines, doing what we did to Miami 2 Saturdays ago ensured that people were going to get in the car, even though it's inconvenient relative to the holiday, and they're going to make their way over here for a Friday night game.
Yeah, reward this bunch without question.
Absolutely.
You got to reward this bunch. They've earned it.
This is the game. There are a lot of times where I'm okay with being in my studio and in my home, my office, and watching these games. Cold weather, Florida, night kick. Damn it. I'm jealous of everybody who gets to go to that one.
Well, it's going to be great, Tom. I'll be at that one.
Sure you will be. You don't want to do the watch along instead?
No,
okay.
I'm good, man.
All right, that's fine.
Take it to the roof. Feel the energy rise up. I always love that too. You feel that in a way that you don't for other games. The only other one is the Miami game, sometimes the Clemson game. Certainly felt that night against Oklahoma all those years ago. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Stay with Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
The Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. President Biden is hailing Ukraine's liberation of a key southern city. White House correspondent Greg Clugston with that report.
During a news conference overseas, the president said Russia's withdrawal from Kherson is momentous.
It's a significant victory for Ukraine. Significant victory.
He applauded the courage and determination of the Ukrainian people and their military.
I mean, they have really been amazing.
As for possible peace negotiations, the president said any diplomatic agreements on the war must be between Russia and Ukraine. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Turkish police carrying out a pre-day run in Istanbul and detained a Syrian woman suspected of links with Kurdish militants who allegedly carried out a bomb attack on a bustling pedestrian avenue in Istanbul. 6 people killed, dozens wounded in Sunday's explosion. Also at townhall.com, officials still counting votes for Arizona governor.
Almost a full week after Election Day, there's still one race for governor that has not been called. That's where Democrat Katie Hobbs leads by 26,000 votes over Republican Kari Lake. After Lake won a majority of the 99,000 votes reported in Maricopa County Sunday, the race is still too early to call, with about 171,000 votes left to count. Lake needs about 57% of those to win. Lake is a former TV broadcaster who's never led in the race. I'm Shelley Adler.
The suspect in the shooting at the University of Virginia that killed 3 members of the football team has been taken into custody. The suspect in that Sunday night shooting identified as Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., who reportedly is a student. Stocks moving higher, the Dow up 175 points, the S&P 500 15 higher. More at townhall.com.
Charlie Dombeck here from Key City Capital. As a practicing CPA for nearly 30 years, I have found that 80% of your ability to grow your wealth is dependent upon 2 factors: taxes and investment performance. At Key City Capital, we improve investment performance by diversifying capital into off-market investment opportunities in passive rental real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending. We recover dollars that clients unnecessarily pay in the form of income taxes, creating a lifetime annuity of savings. We are a sponsor of passive, affordable single and multifamily residential rental investments, which are located in Sunbelt landlord-friendly states. These investments are the top choices in a rising interest rate and inflationary environment. They represent a store of value, protecting your capital from market volatility. Learn how we at Key City Capital can help you ultimately grow your wealth rapidly. Connect with me at keycitycapital.com or give me a call at 817-912-1569.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry books to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. Find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Noles win and win big. Now they got to find a way to win a basketball game. By the way, that is that's tonight, right?
Yes, and the game time has been moved to 8 p.m. so that it can be carried by our great friends at the ACC Network.
Okay. That's interesting.
For locals that are saying, whoa, what are you talking? Yeah, don't show up early and be like, hey, where's the basketball? 8 p.m. tonight, 8 p.m.
Worst start 0-2 in the Leonard Hamilton regime. We've never had a 0-2 start like this, so it's unfortunate. Tommy, I don't want to lead the hour with it. We're playing tonight, so you have to bring it up, and it makes me sad that I'm reluctant to bring it up. I don't see the answers. That's the problem. Like, it's different when you see a team that needs to grow and there's a lot of opportunities for this kid to emerge, and maybe they'll mix the lineup and do this and that. I don't see the answers.
No, Coach said it all when he appeared on this particular program. He said, we're going to have to play completely differently than we usually do. That's never a good sign when a head coach is willing to say, yeah,
well,
we do things one way and we've got to go the other.
Yeah, we had the injuries, and then you had the suspension. And now you look at that backcourt. I think the other thing, and the only thing I'll leave basketball alone for a minute, but something's not right with Matthew Cleveland. I'm confused. He doesn't. It's 2 games, but this doesn't feel good.
It's probably a season that you just say, all right, and when it's over, all right, next year, all right. That's probably where we're going here.
Well. Okay, that's it. The off season will give us the football off season will give us a chance to kind of talk about what that means.
We'll see how much that.
I'm just saying what that means.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like when you start going, man, I can't wait for baseball.
No, I can't. Legit.
Yeah, well, no, I know. I'm excited about it.
Legit.
I'm excited about it as well. But for Florida State, it's another week where they bully the opponent, and we talked about the run game and how Florida State just absolutely dominates people at the line of scrimmage in a way we could never have guessed before the season. And that just continues to be the theme for me over and over and over again. Yes, they're better at wide receiver. Yes, Jordan Travis is better. I love watching Trey Benson run the football. They've got good backs. They've got a lot of things going for them right now that are all, it's a symbiotic relationship. I got it. But that offensive line, man, because it's not like Syracuse's defense has been terrible.
No, it was top 15 entering that game.
And they got manhandled.
And they had some issues in terms of being banged up at certain positions. But when you are as multifaceted as this offense is, typically when you face an offense, it's, they've got a running quarterback who makes things happen. So you got to get him to the ground. And if you let him break the pocket, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Or, man, they just line up and run the football. They don't have great receivers, but it doesn't matter because they just go power and they run right at you. Or they throw the ball 50 times a game, got good receivers. It's a good scheme. We could do any of those things. We could do any of those things any week.
It's the ability to implement a game plan that you desire centered around whatever it is that you want to attack, because you know that you can either do it throwing the football 40 times in a game or you can run it 40 plus times in a game. And either one will work because you have the ability to do it, to block it up in pass protection or to bully you in the run game. It's phenomenal. It's the story of the season. It's certainly the story of the second half of the season. Really, you kind of go back to their ability to do that against Clemson. And, we're looking at that going, all right. And that first half, he did it against NC State. So we were looking at those defenses saying, oh, and he did it against LSU. So there have been moments where the personnel of the opposing team was not in question, and you were able to do that. So I think it's a real thing. I don't think it's a byproduct of just Syracuse and Georgia Tech and obviously some bad football teams that we've played as of late. Now, I think it's what Florida State's emerged to, and I think they'll have a little less success against Florida doing that, but not a ton less. I mean, that Florida's had plenty of games where they gave up a ton of yards, and again, I think you may have to pass to set it all up, but we're perfectly capable. It's beautiful. It's you're not pigeonholed. You have an identity without question, but you can play it any way the team wants to play it, meaning how they decide to defend you.
Right. And if you've got either 11 or 88 at receiver and they emerge into something more, Malik McClain, Alex Atkins was talking him up today, or Kentron, you've covered just
what a catch, by the way. That Portier catch was unbelievable.
You covered just about every receiver type possible in this receiving core, which is crazy. You've got the dude who
physical,
the dude who looks like the red zone threat, and Johnny's more than that, but the dude who looks like the red zone threat. You've got Micah, who is your Swiss Army knife and can be your end-around guy, excellent blocker, physical player.
Yep.
Ja'Kai shot out of a cannon. He is really tough in one-on-one situations to guard. You got Pokey, who is undersized but speedy. And then McLean and Kentron, who can be those possession-type receivers. Your bona fide 6'1" to 6'3" kind of guys that just
big kids
make the big, tough catches, create separation. You cover all of your bases in a receiving core. And next year, we think, I can't imagine you play him just these last couple of games, Winston Wright returns to the fold.
Yeah, and he'll be a player that comes in with a ton of experience that, I kind of have to wait around on him because he's played so many football games, big-time college football games. So he'll hit the ground running now that he's finally healthy, and that'll be good. I'm rooting for that kid.
And another year of seasoning for Deuce Spann. So it's just they've gone from having nothing at the position or inexperience at the position at best, which is what you'd argue for McLean, right? To Pokey is now a different dude. McLean hopefully is emerging. I hope Saturday night was the launching point for him. He's had a couple where you say, is this it?
Is this the one?
And it just doesn't happen. So hopefully this time it's real. But now they've got more options than they can put on the field at a given time. What a flip of one room.
Well, and you think about with the kid that's coming in, obviously, and we talk about how many talented players they already have. So now that room, we don't worry about it. We talked about the offensive line 2 years ago, and they were going to have to throw numbers at the problem, and they've seemed to have remedied that situation right now. We talked a little bit about, and again, they got emerging players behind this group. So that kind of worked. I think that, defensively, we're going to want to see an uptick in the depth of talent at defensive line and defensive end. You got guys now, but you're not real deep in talent there. And then linebacker is the big one. I think we keep looking at that and knowing that you got to get a couple more dudes that you can trust.
Yeah, I think at this point, what's funny is, you might need a prospect at offensive line.
Yeah.
Maybe two if you really have enough space for them in terms of the transfer portal. But last year it was O-line, receiver, linebacker. It was everything. This year, I think it's defensive end, maybe one interior defensive lineman. If you've got a guy, if you can get a guy, the depth that's coming up the ranks with Daniel Lyons and Bishop Thomas and Tafasi behind Farmer, who's going to be one of those players, and what Ray can bring, week in, week out if he's fully healthy, you're set there. It's linebacker and corner. These are the places that you need to dip.
We suspect that Zarier will emerge as a very, very good player, and a consistent player, I think. But yeah, I'm a little uneasy at corner, and that's a hard position to fill. It's a hard job. It's one of the hardest jobs in modern football, especially where you really aren't allowed to do anything. You can't grab people. They call interference all the time, or defensive holding all the time, those kinds of things. So it's hard to find guys that have that skill set, the length of the modern player. Like we look at those hybrids. Obviously we had it in the form of Jalen Ramsey at one time, and we had other corners that we liked a lot, but it's very rare to see a secondary with really any team in America that you go in college where you like, man, that's a lockdown group. There aren't too many lockdown groups. Syracuse was missing a really good defensive back, and he was one of the best in the ACC. But he's out for the year, and that certainly helped us.
And the better you get up front, the better you look in the back seven. So that's the other thing too, is the secondary is playing a lot better, but there's less time to operate. And when Patrick Payton is the third guy you've got to worry about.
How about that though? How
that's
about the
problem.
emergence of him again? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it may be more of what you said than what I said, Tom. I still have my question marks about this defense, but they keep answering it resoundingly so every week. And so when you said, no, I think they're better, Jeff, I think I'm starting to be inclined to believe you. I think they are better. I thought they were the byproduct of some pretty bad offenses they've faced lately. And some of that is true. Obviously Syracuse's offense is not great. Georgia Tech's offense is not great. We know Miami's offense is not good, especially given they were banged up at quarterback. But you don't just dominate people in that manner if you haven't improved. And it's not just like, hey, we held them to, what this many yards per play or the point total. They are destroying these teams. Like these guys, it's over midway through the second quarter. Like there was at no point where you sitting around going, yeah, Syracuse can come back here. No, there's no evidence that Syracuse is coming back here. None.
Right. How are they going to string together the drive necessary?
No, they couldn't do anything. They looked absolutely pathetic.
the rallying to the football and the tackling in space, I think, is one thing that's, genuinely gotten so much better. And you see a guy like Renardo Green, and I see there's a comment about him in the chat, but, the play he makes on Gadsden early in this game, before it really gets settled and decided, in the second quarter, it's pretty much been decided. But before that, it's either they stay on the field or they don't, Syracuse, and Renardo makes a play that he was unable to make against Wake, and he's been our best corner. I'm not trying to downplay what he's done this year, but that's a sign of improvement. That Greedy Vance is around the football a whole lot more, and when he first got here, it was, oh my God, if he doesn't grab somebody with both hands and throw him to the ground
on every play,
he's not going to be anywhere near the receiver. Well, you know what? He's closer to the football an awful lot more, isn't he? And it's not just about tricking somebody in zone. He might be one of your better options at slot corner next year. Who knows? So these guys there is a development going on right now, and confidence plays a large part in it, and so does a better front four.
Scott writes, Renardo Green is a great example of what is happening with this defense. Not a freak, but as he learns this D and gets more comfortable, plays more loose and downhill. Reminds me of Clifton Abraham. Loved Clifton. Let's give 8 some love. Hashtag hit somebody. Yeah. Well, question. Listening to the list of players Coach Norvell brought in makes you realize he's at least Jimbo's equal in assessing skill set to system match. It's a good point. It's a good point. And and if you think back to our praise for him, specific to the transfer portal, nails everyone, seemingly, not everyone, but most of the guys that he's responsible for bringing in here and assessing their value from other programs has been spot on.
And he's better at culture fits. He's better at finding a culture fit. That's the thing I'd say, is even at the best of times when Jimbo was recruiting like a madman, and that 1.0 staff was nasty at recruiting and hitting the trail.
He just was solely looking for bigger, stronger, faster.
You had some problems.
Yeah, you did.
It has been mostly quiet.
It was brought up this weekend during the A&M game.
Yep.
They were talking about that locker room as a mess, that the culture is shot. I'm like, well, we could have told you guys that. I mean, he is a very good recruiter if you're just talking about the ability to look at a player, project what they're going to be, convince them to come to your school. That's all very important. It's an important skill set. He's got it. Jimbo's got that. And then some, but he does not care if you're a fit at all. And he doesn't really care, or he hasn't in the past shown to care too much. The ratio is built around how fast are you. He doesn't really care if you've had problems in high school that are warning flags or signs.
Well, and to return to Jermaine Johnson for just a moment, what if he was all about himself and he was that talented? You wouldn't blame, at least from the surface, you wouldn't blame Coach Norvell for saying, well, we need a pass rusher. But what if in all those failures of 0-4, he's the guy that throws his arms to the sky when there's another blown coverage.
Right.
And he goes and he takes off his helmet and throws it down to the bench, and the coaches have to calm him down and say, look, you're doing your job. He goes, I know I'm doing my job. Tell them to do their job. How many players do you see that are like that?
Mm-hmm.
And that Jermaine wasn't. That at 0-4, when at that point he'd already kind of put out enough tape, if he really wanted to say, you know what, screw this
I'm not getting hurt for this. Yeah.
Right. He's the opposite of that.
Big time. And from what I understand, and I want to give the kid a lot of credit. Well, he's a grown man, but Jermaine Johnson gets the credit first, right? Okay, he gets the credit for being a really good player and a hard worker and a great example for everybody else, and morphed into a very good leader. But from what I understand, that was all relatively new, and it's centered around the way he was coached and talked to here. And that's interesting because he was mature enough to understand that some of the talking points surrounding him had to do with a lack of leadership and a lack of discipline. And he knew the opportunity to come in here, given his stature, quite literally his stature, his physical stature. He knew he would come in and play right away. So opportunity to play Power 5 football at a place that, people watch, even though we've not been good, and then develop your leadership skills and give the NFL another reason to like you beyond just the stature, just the physicality. So he had to be convinced of that. He had to like what Mike said to him, which was, I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to treat you different than everybody else just because you're more talented. In fact, I'm going to challenge you to get better. And he embraced that. And that's cool. And that has in turn certainly rubbed off on a lot of players. And those guys tell these transfer portal candidates, hey, yeah, it works. It works. He's going to demand a lot of you. It's not always, it's not always arm around you type stuff. He's going to yell at you. He's going to demand you do what they tell you to do. But if you do it, you'll get better, you'll get recognized, you'll improve. And, oh, by the way, now we can add to that list of things, we're winning games. So that's a big part of it, is being able to say, yeah, not only am I making you better, but you're going to win.
Yeah, and you can reliably say that now. And you could turn on, like I've said before, your own tape. You don't have to turn on Memphis tape or something else entirely from a different part of your career where you say, oh, look at what we did here. No, it's look at, hey, I'm going to wear that helmet. Yes, you are, son. We don't have to worry about what Memphis did. This is what we do here at Florida State. This is what we are about.
No Fan writes, although Mike would never admit it, how many periods this week do you think Travis J runs scout team quarterback for a certain quarterback in Gainesville? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that happens or not.
He was scout team for Malik, I want to say it was.
Yeah. Well, he might. I mean, you can start preparing. It's interesting. It kind of runs counter to the mindset that he has on a day-to-day basis, though, to start prepping for Florida this week.
Agreed. And even if he did, I'm not sure.
Well, we're not
allowed to say anything.
We
about
wouldn't
that.
be. Yeah, we're not allowed to talk about it. But
maybe on the post game show after we beat Florida,
we
beat
say
their ass.
So let me tell you what we did all week long. Yeah, that's absolutely right. We got to talk to our own Ira Schoffel of Warchant.com. We'll do that momentarily. It's Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
For many in the workforce, their goal is to climb the company ladder. Often the climb requires a move to another city, and that's especially true in our industry. I'm Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. If you rise the ranks of our competitors, there's a good chance moving up means moving away. Why? Because they're not local companies. They're from places like Orlando, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and even Europe. That's certainly not the case with our employees. We're a company that was founded in the Big Bend and remains locally owned. When Paul's Termite and Pest Control employees advance, they remain in the Tallahassee area. Don't trust the safety of your family and pets from disease-carrying pests, or the structure of your biggest investment from termites to people who may be here today and gone tomorrow. Trust Paul's Termite and Pest Control, a company that has serviced thousands of our neighbors right here for over 50 years. Being local really does matter in our industry because local problems require local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control are the Big Bend's local experts for the elimination of termites or any other pest, and a greener lawn too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
You were always more than my mom. You were my role model, my best friend, and biggest supporter. You filled my days with unconditional love. And you also prepared for the day when you couldn't be here. Because of the woman you were back then, I'm able to be the woman I am now. Your planning made this moment possible.
Set your family up for life. Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance. Your friends for life.
This is Andy Cohen. When I was a law enforcement officer, I devoted my life to a career of service and protection. Who's protecting you? Give me a call. 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. Helping you is what we do best.
Southern Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company, Jackson, Mississippi. Not licensed to do business in all 50 states.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean Grassroots Coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods, but the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it. And join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Yeah. Good song. Yeah, by the way, I haven't mentioned it. Obviously, I see some of you brought it up in the chat here. It is a sad story out of Virginia there. For those that don't know, a former University of Virginia football player shot and killed 3 football players and wounded 2 other students late last night. Was on the run for a while. They were able to apprehend him, but either way, obviously, that's a horrible story and tough to read. Lavelle Davis Jr. and junior receiver Devin Chandler and defensive end linebacker Deshaun Perry were the ones who lost their lives. So terrible story out of Virginia there. We wish them well as much as you can. That said, there's no easy way to segue with this, but I do want to point something out, Tom, that is certainly lighter before we have Ira on. And I don't know if you're aware of it. I only became aware of it because of my children, but now somebody just brought it up in the chat and it made me smile. And this is a hard right turn from tragedy to something that makes me laugh every single time I hear it. And that is Robert wrote, UF defense is cheeks. And I think it's the best. I love that the kids today, for things that are bad, refer to them as cheeks, as in butt cheeks. And it just makes me laugh every time I hear it. And I just like that Robert wanted to point out that the UF defense is cheeks.
So I'm dumbfounded here because literally, verbatim, Director Matthews said the same thing during the break.
Oh, wow.
So now I understand. I feel like, I just got surrounded by cheeks, a couple of cheeks that were telling me that that's what this means.
My youngest son uses the phrase more than my old all the time.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, he does it all the time.
Let's see. I'm down in Tampa, I think next Wednesday for Thanksgiving. I've got 4 nieces and nephews total. I'm going to set the over-under count at 2.5 for hearing the word cheeks.
Well, and they're so proper. I don't know, man. I mean, they're well-raised kids.
But that might be code. That might be code enough that, the parents go, what? And I'll just be like,
yeah, that's funny. Well, do it because I want to see
if mashed potatoes are cheeks, Mom.
But hopefully she makes good mashed potatoes. That wouldn't be good. You got to use it.
The food at our table is unbelievable.
Really, yeah. No, you can't. You got to have. The first time I heard it, I had a suspicion that's what he was referring to, but I wasn't sure. And I was like, do kids say that? He's like, oh, yeah. Kids call things cheeks all the time, which still. And I didn't want it to go unnoticed. I wanted Robert to get credit for just randomly popping in the chat and dropping the UF defense's cheeks. Although South Carolina's offense may be cheeks too, because that was not a good showing. Here's the man, Ira Schoffel, Warchant.com. Hello, Ira.
How you doing, Jeff?
Well, were you aware that the kids use the phrase cheeks when describing things that are bad?
Man, I could if you had told me it was describing things that were good, I wouldn't have known you were wrong. So
okay,
no. I've heard it, but I have no idea.
It just makes me laugh. How was the trip, buddy? How was Syracuse?
It was good. It was good. Good weather. It started to snow though. Yet last night or yesterday, I didn't leave till Sunday evening, and it was starting to snow. So it was getting a little dicey there with the weather, but it was good to get out of town before that hit. And no, it was good, man. It was good. What's weird about Syracuse is it's not a great environment, obviously, but for watching a football game, it's actually a great environment because you're right there. I mean, it's like the press box. It looks like they're playing football in your living room. You don't need binoculars. It's just so from that standpoint, it's awesome. You get to see everything. But it's not a typical college football atmosphere for sure.
Well, then you got to see up close and personal that ass beating, and it's yet another in a string of ass beatings. I loved your 3-2-1 today. Go read it, everybody, warchant.com. Talking big picture stuff, man. Let's stay with that. He's not only, we've talked for a while about the flipping of the culture, but he's established a way of practicing and preparing and building, and it's really, really impressive. They play hard for that guy.
Yeah, but I also think they play hard for each other, and I think, what's cool about the whole thing is it really has happened organically. One of the things I was thinking about is so many coaches, the Urban Meyer, like he was a textbook, kick everybody out of the locker room. They got to earn their way back in the locker room, and just demanding all this stuff. It always struck me as odd. A new coach comes in, like the guy at what's his name? The other was at Houston, and then went to Texas and bombed.
Herman.
Yeah. Tom Herman.
Yeah.
Like these guys that go in, they're brand new to a program, but they set all these ridiculous standards, and you have to prove to me you're good enough to be here and all this. And it's like, it's so phony. It works, but it's forced. I mean, like the players don't have any choice. If they want to play college football, they have to go away. They have to go along with whatever this guy is ordering. This has been completely different. Mike Norvell, and I think he's said this recently, like he's never asked them to trust him. Like he just came in and said, I'm going to keep working and I'm going to do everything I can to make you guys better, and I'm going to help you and put things in place for you guys to have success. And that has developed that trust, but he didn't demand it. He didn't even ask for it. And I think because it's happened organically, I think that's why it's so cool. And I heard you talk about it a little bit in the first hour, and Corey wrote about it after the game. Like, it's fun to watch this football team play. And I think a lot of it's because it is organic. It wasn't forced by a head coach.
Yeah, and, in many ways, I wonder if that's because, and he has said this before at a coaches convention, speech I listened to when we first hired Mike Norvell, where he talked about, kind of being raised by football. He gives credit, obviously, to his mom, but the male figures in his life were football coaches. And, I think that has to come across as incredibly genuine to a lot of guys on this team, right? Like that the relatability factor to putting it all on the line and getting better every day and going to work and doing something, like having a process to fall back on. Like, he's done all of that himself. So when he does it or illustrates it and talks about it, it's probably very, very comes across as very, very genuine to them.
And how rewarding must it be for him and really the whole staff when they see the players doing some of the things they do in terms of watching how they interact on the sideline. Today in the press conference, I think John Papuchis mentioned, when you go down to a team meal, guys are sitting in their seats 15 minutes early. Just the way they interact when the defense is on the field or when the backups are on the field in the fourth quarter, and you see the starters not just sitting on the bench talking or whatever. They're like standing on the sideline watching, laughing with each other. I mean, it's got to be incredibly rewarding. But what I do think is an interesting spot right now is, it's not like they're on the top of the mountaintop, obviously. There's still a team that's, barely in the top 20, and it's a team that, does have 3 losses this year, and nobody's saying this team is arrived. But at the same time, you want to appreciate how far it's come. It's got to be cool to watch this when they put so much work into it. At the same time, they know that they're nowhere near where they want to be as a program.
Yeah, I can only imagine watching, especially guys that maybe were like a tough nut to crack, like somebody who wasn't so sure and had been burned. Obviously, if they'd been here for a while, they'd seen a lot of coming and going with coaches, and they weren't real sure that they could trust anybody. And then you see that guy finally take the step to buy in and believe and then help lead others. You're right. And now I think it's an interesting balancing act too, Ira, as to the larger point we're talking about. You have developed this culture. You have a team that's fun to watch play. They play hard for each other. They play hard for that staff. They play in a way that is absolutely enjoyable to take in as a fan. And now you've got to go about the process trying to sustain that And you got to do that in the era of NIL and transfer portal.
Right.
That's tough, man. It would have been easier the old way. And what I mean by that is when guys didn't have as many choices or money wasn't blatantly exchanging hands. I mean, this is going to be a hard thing to sustain. It's built the right way. He keeps talking about that, and he's right. But those players have to pass it on to the new ones that come in.
Yeah, and the dynamics change. Every coach will say this. Jimbo used to say it all the time. I'm sure Norvell would say the same thing. That every year, every team has a 1-year life expectancy, and so just because this team seems to have found that wonderful place doesn't mean next year's will, because you're going to add in new elements. Some guys will leave, some guys will come, but I do think at this point you have to give them a lot of credit, because last year or 2 years ago they identified the Jay Sean Corbins, and last year it was the Jermaine Johnsons and Keir Thomas, and along the way it was Jamie Robinson and Fabian Lovett and all those guys, and and some of these guys we're mentioning were guys that people had question marks about how they would fit in. Would they be team guys? And they all did. So I think the track record says that they'll be able to do it. But yeah, the challenges will be different, especially, the stakes get higher. You start bringing in better players. That changes some dynamics as well. But man, it's good to have those problems from the problems we were watching the last few years.
Yeah, and I know you referenced it in the column, but I agree. It's how fun is that Florida State-Florida game going to be? I mean, both have a lot on the line. Both are attempting to take another step forward. Both are trying to wrestle control from the other when it comes to recruits and who's on the fastest path towards consistent success. So I think that game, and I know we got a game this week with Louisiana, but that game's going to be intense from a physical standpoint. I think that's going to be the most physical game of the year.
And what's cool about it is I think it should be a good game. Like last year's game, I thought was a dumpster fire. I mean, it was just both teams kind of stunk. Florida State's players just kind of lost their minds a little bit more than Florida's players did. And then Jordan Travis got hurt for a little bit. So Florida won the game, but neither of those teams played good at all. But I think both teams have come a long way, and they've got better, things in place now from a coaching standpoint. And one more thing I wanted to touch on, with the big picture stuff and why this is so much fun is, college football has gotten to be very transactional, where you've got between the NIL, but then also think about like the bowl games and guys who don't play in bowl games anymore because they, it's just, that's not what they're in their best interest. I'm curious to see like this team, it's their first bowl game in, 4 years, and it's a chance. These guys have kind of put this program on the map, and I'm not saying that they should be required to want to play in the bowl game if they're guys who are going to the NFL. But I'm curious to see if that decision is more difficult on this team and this year, because this team doesn't feel transactional. So much of college football has become transactional, and this team doesn't feel that way. And I think that's going to be something to watch going into the bowl season. I heard you talking about the bowls in the earlier hours.
Yeah. And by the way, this question that we got in the chat kind of fits along that narrative. So you and I can attempt to answer this. I want to hear your opinion. I've got one, obviously, as well. Tom writes, in the beginning of the Jimbo regime, I believed in him like I do Norvell now. Did Jimbo change, or were we fooled? I'll always appreciate the national title, but was love, trust, and believe in each other just a lie? I do think he changed for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And most of those, to answer your question, Tom, most of those have to do with off the field stuff. Yeah, he ended up losing the locker room, but I think he lost the locker room because his personal life was in shambles.
The personal life, but then also just his own letting personal beefs become the focal point inside the athletic department, and all of that as well. And he got resentful, and it just became a toxic situation. But I think he got, I'm not going to I can't get into Jimbo's mind, but I think he thought he's got, as long as he's got great players, as long as he's calling plays, that he could not necessarily have to focus as much on the other stuff anymore because the program was in place. Well, that's not how it works, man. You right. have to stay on top of guys, and you're bringing in new players all the time. And once they sense that you're not focused and that you're not dialed in, you're not paying attention to what they're doing, man, you're in trouble. And I think that happened, and it just started to spiral out of control. The personal stuff off the field obviously was, kerosene.
Yeah, I think so. I think it lent itself to that really blowing up in his face. And I also think the other problem there, and final thing on this, if if you're winning football games because you've recruited really talented players, but you don't hold them to certain standards that you've set in place prior to their arrival, and you ignore it because that person's really good, you only get to do that once and have everybody in that locker room look over and realize that you're not about it, that you're a liar, that the foundation that you talk about is really nothing. Those are just words because you've contradicted yourself already.
The best example ever, I think, is what happened in Gainesville with Urban Meyer. He talked tough, but by the end of his time there, those players ran the asylum.
And they hated him. At the end, they hated him. I mean, I was down on the field to hear them curse him out in a game.
So, yeah, man, that's the textbook example. And it can work in the short term.
Sure.
And, and like you said, Norvell will talk about how he's trying to build this for the long term. And I think that he's never going to come out and say what he's talking about because he doesn't want to, throw stones at other programs. But I think that is it. Like, you can win in the short term by taking a different approach, but it doesn't usually work in the long term.
Later, brother. Appreciate you as always. Be good, man.
Thanks. I'll see you guys.
Yep. Ira Schoffel, managing editor, if I could say it, warchant.com. Yeah, that could be a book in and of itself. I've got a ton of opinions about that. I haven't talked to that guy as much as anybody, certainly in the media, just because I began interviewing him when he was just the OC, not even head coach in waiting, just the offensive coordinator, and talked to him every week. And then when he became the head coach in waiting, then eventually the head coach, and I watched it all happen. And but I do think that Ira's right about the personal beefs, but then when you have other stuff going on in your life, and it's certainly the tragedy that was Monk Bonasort's passing didn't help either. So just a lot of things caved all at once, and when it's broken like that, there's no setting it back. I mean, the culture was done.
No, it should have been a warning we heeded when Jalen Ramsey commented after the Oklahoma State win that I thought it would be that close because we haven't exactly practiced the right way. He was right.
Well, and I know you do. I was beginning to get panicked long before.
Check my notes comment.
Oh, I said it to you afterwards. I was like, what is that? That bothered me. That was the preseason press conference when he said that. I was like, okay, we got a problem on our hands here. I didn't want it to be so, though. You want it. You're like, no.
Well,
no.
And look, if you don't fumble the ball away and
against Oregon,
Nick O'Leary doesn't tweak a hammy in the Rose Bowl, I mean, you might win another one. You might win.
You might have. Yeah, he recruited a lot of really good players, including the number 1 pick overall in the draft.
Could have used Jalen to catch that interception too.
He would have walked he may not have, but he would have been close.
Big game.
Yeah, it was kind of important. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Saturday, the Blueprint Intergovernmental Agency hosted an open house for the public to give feedback as they work on a project that will bring the 107-acre fairground site in Tallahassee into the 21st century. In 2020, agency board approved $20 million to make it happen. This spring, project leaders are working on a master plan for what's next. Right now is the listening and understanding phase. By hearing the vision of community members, residents near the property, and stakeholders, they hope to make the roadmap for what development will look like. Saturday, more than 250 registered participants showed out for the Alzheimer's Association's Walk to End Alzheimer's at Cascades Park. Attendees were walking to raise money for Alzheimer's research and grow awareness. According to the association, the fundraising goal was $63,000. They had reached around $57,000 of that goal. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Lows dip down to about 61 overnight under mainly cloudy skies. Winds out of the southwest around 5 miles per hour. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Tomorrow, 80. Cloudy skies. Tomorrow night, slight chance for scattered storms. Lows level off around 47. High of 64 Sunday under sunny skies. 68 Monday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 68.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless with zero gravity. All of your worries and stress melt away. Your mind stops racing and you fall into a profound state of pure relaxation. This is available to you right now at Tallulah Delta 8 Plus Floating in Railroad Square for just $50. These state-of-the-art floating pods are unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and while you're there, you can shop for some of the latest and greatest CBD and Delta 8 products on the market. Natural pain management, stress relief, and better sleep are all at your fingertips at Tallulah. Tell them Jeff Cameron sent you and thank me later.
Hey, what's happening, Jeff?
It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain. You know, you're frustrated with your job, your aggravated life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. You got to get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m., 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We can talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
This and they believe in doing things the right way, the safe way. Employees undergo routine safety training and are constantly being educated on new techniques and new materials, like becoming a master metal applicator, which is just cool to say every time I say it. And if you considered a new metal roof, speaking of which, they're long lasting and durable, and T-Spark Enterprises Roofing and Construction are the best in town at putting them on. Call them today, 766-1340. Get a free quote today at tsparkconstruction.com.
Not a bad time to check in with old T-Spark too, because if you've got a lot of trees on your property like I do, I had to check and leave the house the one afternoon because bam,
yeah,
large contingent of branches.
Can't have all that.
You don't need that leak that comes with it.
Yeah, now you got me thinking about the trees in my backyard.
Yeah, I know. We were just thinking this weekend, like, what major projects do we need to have contracted out for the winter? Because that's a good time to get your trees worked on and things like that.
So now we have a weird week because it's, these last 3 weeks, I think we're filled with excitement and enthusiasm, sure, about what we thought potentially could happen, meaning Florida State could win these games and play well. But one of them was a huge rivalry game on the road at night, so you kind of were nervous about that, even though we both thought Florida State would roll and roll big. But then also, once you start winning and you're playing well and that's in there, then there's the thought of you got something to lose. You gotta keep building up and get better each week, and they have. And now you're kind of just like, this game.
Oh, well, that's okay though, because I'm gonna savor where we are. It's been so long, and if you are an undergrad student that's a junior or senior right now, you're really savoring this moment, and you should. When that thing turns around for the first time, and I can speak to this. I grew up as a Knoll in the 90s. My sister went here in the early 90s, so I saw the glory days. But as a student, we didn't beat our in-state rival one time at home.
When you were here, yeah.
to 09.
Yeah.
0 for 4. So when that thing turned around, that 2010 team, I love that team more than most people that are older than me because I didn't even see the 05 ACC championship run.
Yeah.
I had nothing.
Yeah.
A whole lot of nothing. It's a win over Virginia Tech or Clemson at home, and that's it. That's all I had to show for 4 years in terms of real successes and pro combat uniforms that we wore.
Yeah.
And that's it. That marked the times. So when it first turns around, there's that extra little bit of something. And I'm happy for all the people that are feeling that. And this weekend's another chance. You only got 2 more of these home games. Embrace them.
Oh, without question. And I'm embracing all the football. Any football that's being played, I'm well aware that is late in the second half. We've got to take in as many games as possible. And I know, I talked about this yesterday on the Smash, but Did you get to go back and watch that Minnesota Buffalo game?
I did. And you know what really
it's a crazy game.
Grinds my gears is when I took the nap, there was, I think, 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. And that's right when everything started. That's when the whole story took a different turn. And if I had just stayed up 5 more minutes, I would have stayed up and seen the whole game.
That game was insane. And I was telling the kids, hey, we'll go. They wanted to play basketball. And they're like, let's go play basketball. Let's go play basketball. And I'm like, I will in a second. Just let me see if Minnesota scores on this drive, because if they don't, it's over. And then they did. And then I was like, okay, well, hold on. And then Bryce got into it. It was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. And then he sat down. The next thing I know, my wife was watching the game. That's when you know it's a good game. My wife's like, really? They're about to tie it up? Yes, look at this. This is amazing. But I don't remember the last time I saw a play. So right before the Allen fumble in the end zone, when they're just trying to run out the clock to win the game, it's just bizarre, that whole thing. I turned to Bryce and said, some coaches in this situation would take a safety. And I knew he didn't know that, because he hasn't watched enough football to know that. He was like, why? Why would you do that? I'm like, well, because this is kind of a dangerous situation here on your inch line. If you're up by 4 in this situation, you could take the safety and it allows you a free kick. And I was explaining that, you could probably trust yourself to play decent defense. They're out of timeouts, for 37 seconds. You could probably do that. But I said that I don't know how many people are going to do that anymore. And he said, why? I said, well, Kansas City Buffalo last year tells you that you need 17 seconds?
Right. And even though it's a winter storm, kickers these days too. I mean, punters.
Yeah.
How about what we saw in Germany yesterday, where it's just a 60-plus yard punt show? Now kickers, 56 doesn't feel like it used to. When I was growing up, 56 there's no way.
It was a big
deal. And now 56 is, probably. That's going in, probably.
It was crazy watching that play out. And I was thoroughly entertained, and it made me smile ear to ear to watch the number of good plays made on both sides. The Jefferson catch is insane.
Well, that's the thing is, and it's kind of apropos for the Vikings contingent out there, because Stephon Diggs makes a brilliant one-handed catch earlier in the game, but Jefferson makes a better one.
Yeah.
And the symmetry of Diggs being traded for the pick that they spent on Jefferson, it's an upgrade. Even though one's really good, the other is better.
Yeah.
But that game, in watching the condensed form of it, it's a compilation of great football plays and then wacky nonsense things.
Strange things that come out.
Like the fumble in the end zone, or 3 possessions inside the 5-yard line that end up in 0 points total between the two teams.
Yeah.
And a non-review on the Davis catch.
Which is really surprising. The NFL they ought to be embarrassed by that. I mean, that it's not hard. That you end up putting yourself in a position to have to answer for conspiracy theories. And you hate that, because I think it's just a mistake. But you could see where somebody would be like, really? They review everything. How the hell do they not review that? So,
and a missed extra point too. I'd also throw that in there. But what's interesting from Minnesota's perspective, and that's in my home, so I get that perspective more than, say, Buffalo's.
Right.
Hawkinson does make a difference in that offense.
Oh yeah,
a big time difference in that offense.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like he should be good. Every time I look at that dude, I'm like, look at this doofus making another play. It's always, look at this doofus making yet another play.
He got interfered with after the OPI on that third down throw into the end zone. That should be first and goal at the 1 to turn into a field. There's just so many moments in that game. We'd be lucky if the Super Bowl was 80% as good as that.
It was great. Tallulah, my friends, my partners who sponsored the final segment of the program, go get you some mushrooms. Go float over off of Railroad Square.
Somebody requested the touchdown otter here with the Deckerhoff for the touchdown in the watch-alongs, and I think they're
going to get that. Yeah, we're going to make that happen, right?
For Gene.
So that'll be good. But yeah, you can go float over there in Railroad Square. I've done it, and I can attest to the fact that it is incredibly relaxing, rewarding, and you do feel better afterwards. You do. Your muscles are able to relax, and it eases like joint pain and all that good stuff. So I don't know if I was suspicious, but I didn't know what to expect, and I just got to tell you, I really liked it. THC, CBD, all the good stuff there, all legal, and the juices are really good. I got to tell you that. The juices are delicious. I love their juices.
This feels like a week for a lot of good juices. Just to,
I think you're right. Yeah.
You got this matchup instead of the Gators, and then, Thanksgiving being what it is for indulgences.
But yeah.
Right? Yeah, this is probably a good week to reset.
This is a good week to reset, right? Who's the Monday Night Football game tonight? I didn't even bother to look. Oh, it's your Eagles.
And
right?
the Polygons. Yeah.
All right. Well, that should be an ass kicking, but you never know. Might get a good game. May have a reason to stay up and watch. Hopefully not. Hopefully the Eagles are up big and I'll just go to bed.
With Philly's schedule, they could take a night off and it wouldn't matter. So maybe they will tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. And with Dallas having dropped one against Green Bay, cost me dearly.
I know. You were watching it very closely at the end of Smash.
Yes.
And we had to.
It was 28-14, Tom, in the fourth quarter. The game was over.
What did they do? Did they throw a pass to Dak Prescott from Tony Pollard and have it picked off?
No, Dak just kind of sucks and did again and threw an insane pick that's like, I don't know, man. It was something.
What was more baffling yesterday? Because I know that the obvious answer is Fournette throwing the pick to
the play call for Fournette to throw a pass to Tom Brady or the Tom Brady interception.
That one was actually more stunning to me.
Zero sense.
That was more stunning to me.
Run the ball twice, punt, win, over. That's it. That's all. Thanks for playing. That's all they had to do. And he throws that pick, and I'm like, that's what we're doing out here. And then I knew, like, did you think for a second we were going to get a stop there? No.
And Geno makes two unbelievable plays.
Insane. That fourth down throw is ridiculous. And he caught it. I'm like, surely this replay is going to show he didn't catch that. He did. That son of a...
But you know what? The NFL in Germany works.
Oh, my God. Those fans were incredible.
Move every London game to Germany and we're done here.
Do it from here on out. Those fans were fantastic. They loved it. I don't know why it's so heartwarming to hear a bunch of Germans singing Take Me Home, Country Road, but it was. Good work out of you.
That's the day we won the war, finally.
Good work, Director Matthew, as well. Be well, everybody.
In the coop tonight.
In the coop tonight. Good stuff as always. We'll talk to you tomorrow.